Good evening and welcome to Jesmond Local Live. I'm Imogen Scott-Chambers.
And I'm James Mackay.
In our first broadcast of 2016, we will be bringing you the latest stories affecting Jesmond and bringing you up to date with what is happening in the community.
Yes, in tonight's broadcast we'll be looking at the recent spate of council cuts to local services. How far-reaching are they and how will they affect you in 2016?
Why has Greggs in Jesmond been denied a street licence for its cafe when Clean and Press, located on the same street, has been trading like this for years? We will explore further and get your reaction.
And finally, we'll bring you the latest from the RSBP's Big Garden Birdwatch, which took place in Jesmond Dean on Saturday.
But first, our correspondents Ritik Sarkar and Megan Thrall have this special report on council cuts in Jesmond.
In the face of one of the worst budget cuts in recent past, Jesmond is likely to keep its head well above water through a combination of community support and a very diligent volunteer workforce. The district is likely to ride out the fiscal storm.
We've been having budget cuts, unfortunately, for a few years now. And it was in 2013 when the City Council proposed to close this library completely. And there was a lot of protest in Jesmond about the proposal to close the library. But I think fairly unusually, the residents decided not only to oppose the closure as a council library, but at the same time to get organised to take it over if the library closure should go ahead. And I think that was quite important because it shifted the whole thing from purely protesting about the council decision to actually doing something about it.
Jesmond over the years has a number of community venues which now were cut a few years ago, so we had the cuts earlier and are now able to fend for themselves. For example, cuts across the city this year will be closing the hours of a number of libraries across the city. We now have our library, Jesmond Library, which has been running very successfully with volunteers. And we do hope that we can become part of the wider network across Newcastle so other people can benefit from Jesmond Library as well, to work more closely with other libraries in the city. Things like the swimming baths, some baths are closing, and again we've supported baths across the city which were closing, give them advice. So Jesmond people will still have their library and they'll still have their pool and they'll still have the excellent volunteers who work across Jesmond. But I do hope they can also offer a bit of support to those other places that are closing across the city.
Up next, a recent proposal for Greggs on Acorn Road to set up a pavement cafe has been met with objections from the Jesmond Residents Association. Our reporters, Eleni Kefalinu, Alice Gardner and Amalia Skinneraki have more on this controversy.
A proposed pavement cafe on Acorn Road has been objected against by the Jesmond Residents Association. The establishment, a Greggs store at 34 Acorn Road, proposed a plan for a pavement cafe. The association supports that the pavement outside the store is too narrow for any cafes, since it would leave inadequate space for pedestrians or people with buggies and wheelchairs to pass by.
We don't object to pavement cafes. The problem really is the amount of space that there is on the pavement. And one of the main reasons for changing the road to make it wider pavement was to allow people with wheelchairs and buggies to get up the pavement easily. And having tables on the pavement is going to obstruct that.
During the last few months, actions were taken to improve Acorn Road since it's one of the busiest streets in the area. This included the widening of the pavement and the alteration of the road into a one-way street. However, according to JRA, Greggs' proposal would make things difficult again for pedestrians.
We've had a lot of people who come and said to us, you know, we like the idea of pavement cafes, but this is going to make it very difficult when we've got children, when we've got a shopping basket, when there's a person who's disabled. It will push them onto the road again. So that's really why we're against this particular position.
I can understand why residents might think it would be a bit too much, because this is probably the busiest street for pedestrians.
People get very annoyed about it, leading to other things.
The objections concern the inaccuracy of measurements in diagrams, the presentation of misleading dimensions, and the exclusion of details about the enclosing banner barriers and number of tables. As the chair of Jesmond Resident Association, Tony Waterston, said to Jesmond Local, development is welcome, but not in expense of the residents.
The JRA is not against developments, it's just representing the views of people. and taking into account what they say and how their life is going to be affected.
A very busy pedestrian street as people go, and there's loads of cars. I mean, I know with it being one way it's helped, but I think that if there's too many more, it's probably, one, going to be an eyesore, and two, just it's not going to look right, it's not going to fit right.
We in the JRA are very much in favour of pavement cafes. They add to the ambience of the street, they add to the sociability, they make it more pleasant. And where there are pavement cafes at each end, they're very pleasant. But just in this particular place, it's not going to work because of the amount of space there is.
Even though the residents alongside the JRA express their opinion on the subject, the decision still remains to be taken by the City Council.
We put in an objection to the council. The council will have to the council planning department will have to decide what it has to do. It doesn't always go along with what we say. So they may decide to go ahead anyway. But I think it's likely that they will respect the views of the residents.
The whole idea of widening the pavements make life easier for a lot of folk that live around here. So it would be a nice idea if this was a completely pedestrianized street, then it wouldn't be an issue. But because of that, I think it possibly could pose a few problems.
It'd be nice, but given the consideration of wheelchairs and prams and people like that, it might be quite hard to...
Maybe what we would like the council to do is to have a look at the whole street and to, together with residents, take a judgment on what the positions in the street would be favourable to having pavement cafes and allowing them there.
Last weekend saw birdwatchers head to Jesmond Dean to take part in the RSBP's Big Garden Birdwatch, a nationwide initiative to encourage awareness of Britain's bird species. Helen Daly and our very own Imogen Scott Chambers reported.
We're here at Jesmond Dean today. As you can see, there's plenty of animals around, but we're looking for the smaller ones.
It's the RSPB's Big Garden Birdwatch, and the volunteers at Jesmond Dean are helping to educate the residents.
My name's Sarah Gates and I work as a ranger for Newcastle City Council.
What can people do today?
So today there's the actual walks that I mentioned, the 3 walks taking part. There's people actually stationed in the nature area, which is just across the river, Pett's Corner. There's people that have binoculars and scopes, and we've got quite a few bird feeders out there to encourage the birds. So the idea is people go across there to see those particular types of birds. You can come in here, make bird boxes. We've got bird feeders as well, different types of bird feeders for all ages. And there's a treasure hunt, the RSPB did a little treasure hunt.
How long have you been doing the Big Bird Watch for?
This is the 2nd year that we've done it as rangers to Newcastle City Council.
And how successful has it been?
It's been great. It's been great. I think we've only had it about half an hour now. We've been open for an hour, and I think we've made 4 or 5 bird boxes, 10 feeders, and I think there's a bird walk happening now.
But just how did the residents get on?
Very good. So a good selection.
And we saw the kingfisher, which was
fabulous. The kingfisher straight away.
Yeah. Well, we've got a whole list of things.
Loads of tits and things, yes.
We spoke to a member of the RSPB to find out the benefits of the scheme.
Last year, I think, over 500,000 people did this, and the RSPB then worked through all the numbers and said the most common bird in the UK is house sparrow, and this is what's happened since the year before and the year before. So it's a sort of scientific way of finding out about what's happening to bird populations in gardens all over the country.
What kind of birds can we expect to find in Jesmond Dean today?
What we've seen in the nature area and around the feeders are tits and finches, blue tit, great tit, long-tailed tit, chaffinch. We'll be perhaps fortunate to see a green finch and certainly lucky to see a bullfinch, but they do come. Kingfisher on the river, that's been seen this morning.
Well, we tried our best to find some birds today. We did find a few. The Big Bird Watch is on every year at the last weekend of January, so there's plenty of chance to get involved every single year. Helen Daly, Jesmond Local.
Well, it looks like it was a fantastic day out, Imogen. Did any particular bird catch your eye?
Yeah, it was amazing to see the kingfisher actually. He was really fast, but we got to just get a little snippet of him, so yeah.
Fantastic. So is there anything else going on in Jesmond in the coming week?
You know, James, there is. Thursday is a very big day for Jesmond. There are lots of events going on. For example, at the library on St George's Terrace, Alan Avis will be talking about Charles Dickens and education.
Well, if anyone fancies an evening of music, drinks and a quiz, you can head down to As You Like It in Jesmond, where the North East Junior Lawyers Division is hosting a quiz. You can get your tickets online for £5.
Lastly, whilst Christmas might be over, St George and St Hilda's players are continuing the entertainment with the pantomime showing of The Cat in Retirement, telling the tale of Grimalkin, the cat in wellies, in his final adventures.
Yes, the pantomime will be showing on Friday and Saturday at 7:30, as well as a matinee on Saturday afternoon. Tickets for that are also £5, which can be picked up from the parish.
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. So for more Jesmond news, please go to www.jesmondlocal.com and we'll see you next time on Jesmond Local Live.
Thanks.